minutes to start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Simran Singh, Program Associate here in India. Hope I am audible.
Yes, Fatima.
So, a warm welcome to all of you. We are happy to start a special webinar series on heatwave preparedness and resilience. Uh, this is uh, this is the first five session we are where we are talking about a different way to deal with a heat wave in in today's changing climate. Our first webinar title understanding heat wave, identification, early warning, and preparedness. We will give this session will give us a brief or a basic understanding of heat wave trends, how early warning works, and what community can do to stay prepared. And we are truly appreciate your time and patience here today. So without taking much more of your time, I would like to invite moderator to take the session forward. Miss Fatima ma'am. Miss Fatima ma'am has a 4-year experience in disaster management, specialization in risk assessment, mitigation, and preparedness planning. Currently, ma'am is a project scientist at ICARS, IIT Roorkee, Noida campus. Welcome, ma'am, to you.
For Simran, you'll have to make Fatima
Yes,
co-host.
yes, yes. Fatima ma'am.
Thank you so much. I was just thinking that the problem is from my end as I was not able to unmute myself. So, thank you so much. I welcome everyone to this webinar on understanding understanding heat waves, the identification, early warning system, and preparedness. And we all know what preparedness plays an important part in our day-to-day life, say from any extreme events or anything. So we all know that heat waves are prolonged period. You don't need to define the definition, but still, we all know it's a prolonged period of excessively high temperature. We nowadays are facing, in fact, we can't say just heat waves only. It's a lot. There is a humidity in that we are seeing the temperature rise. Apart from that, we are seeing it's going beyond 40 degrees. If I correct me if I'm not wrong. So usually the temperature is going like this these days, and early warning plays a crucial role in minimizing heat wave impacts. So our system rely on weather forecasting, say from if we have to talk about the real time monitoring and predictive models. So they play important part to it. So without wasting more much of time, I'll just like to invite we are having a I just was checking the flyer that we really having the great panelists here, and having the great kind of experience if we talk about the environment, or we are having expertise from IMD or from the uh, environment expert who has specially worked on specific areas, so they can make you understand more than I can do. So I'll not waste that much of time, and I'll like to invite our first speaker. I guess Miss Akanksha Pandey is here. Yes. So like to give a brief about you. So Miss Akanksha is an assistant professor for disaster studies at Rashtriya Raksha University, Lucknow campus. She is a disaster risk reduction enthusiast and researcher. She has worked with national as well as international organizations in India, Bangladesh, and Thailand on various aspects of disasters and the governance issues. Her 8 years of industry experience includes sectors of government, non-government, and media. She is strong advocate of mainstreaming DRR into development policies, planning, and practices, and research presented and published papers on the issues of various journals. Her interest lies in disaster risk governance, nature conservation, risk communication, disaster and development, research and capacity. She holds masters in arts and masters in philosophy, degrees in disaster science from this Mumbai, and she's also pursuing her PhD from the same university. Apart from that, she enjoys solo traveling, literature, adventure sports, music, and fact-based cinema. So, so I invite Miss Akanksha over here. Please.
Thank you very much, Fatima. Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I am sitting here in Shimla and talking about heat waves. Um, Anyways, so I will be sharing my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Fatima, and the entire team of Sphere India for giving me this opportunity to speak about heat wave trends, vulnerabilities, and risk in India. Um, just give me a second. I'm trying to share my PPT. So I'm using PDF version because of some technical reason I'm not able to share the PPT version. I hope it's visible. Is it? Can you confirm, please?
Yes.
Yes, you can please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, yeah, here Akanksha is, and as Sphere India has asked me to speak on a specific topic because there are, as Fatima was telling, we have very interesting set of panelists today. They will be speaking on the other dimensions. So, I am going to elaborate on the heat wave trends that are there in India. Let's begin with the defining heat wave, so that all of us are, on same page, because it could be that the audiences are, maybe they might be young, they might be professionals, they might also be the homemakers, etc. So assuming, how do we understand heat wave? So basically what IMD says is that there are, there are two broad ways of defining heat wave. So one is based on the departure from the normal temperature, and the other one is based on the actual maximum temperature. So what happens is that whenever there is a departure from the normal temperature that is there in that particular region, or particular district, when that departure is from, 4.5 degree to 6.4 degrees, IMD declares heat wave, and that has to sustain for a particular period of time, 24 hours or maybe 2 days, so minimum for that time. When we say severe heat waves, many times we do get warning of severe heat waves. So what does that mean? That means that the departure from the normal temperature is more than 6.4 degrees centigrades. um, Apart from this, the other criteria of actual maximum temperature is 45 degree centigrade. So whenever actual maximum temperature is 45, we say that the situation of heat wave is there, and when it crosses 45, naturally the situation is of severe heat wave. So these are the two criteria. Now, um, the temperature, the normal temperature differs because we live in a country जिसका साइज इतना बड़ा है, नॉर्थ टू साउथ, ईस्ट टू वेस्ट, geographic realities बहुत अलग है, demography बहुत अलग है. So in plain areas, the normal temperature that we might consider, um, in the time period of heat wave, that is March to June, and in extreme situations July as well. So for plain areas, it's taken as 40 degree, है ना? But that might differ in coastal areas, that might differ in hilly areas. Like for example, I'm sitting here in Shimla. So in Shimla or in hilly areas that are supposed to be cooler, because of because of their own geographical realities, in hilly areas when temperature crosses 30 degree, so you know that is the time when the heat wave alerts would start there, because that is abnormal for the hilly terrains. And this would again differ for the coastal regions. So in coastal regions, approximately the temperature threshold of 37 degree centigrade is considered, and beyond that, if it crosses, the situation is considered heat wave. So we what we just discussed is that the heat wave temperature threshold is, it differs region wise, plain areas, coastal areas, and hilly terrains. This, you can see it on my screen. This I have taken from the IMD's website. Again, what we discussed, it is just a pictorial depiction of the same. Now, why are we discussing heat waves here? And because and why it's such a serious concern for us, for our society, for you and me? It is because it has serious impact on public health, economy of the country, environmental well-being of our society, our planet, and overall it affects the achievement of the sustainable development goals. We will discuss in the subsequent slides, and also I'm sure the other speakers would highlight the fact that how the sustainable development goals and the idea of sustainable development itself is affected by the heat waves in India. Because I was asked to speak about the trends, so trends of about heat waves in India. If we look at the historical trends means just like 40 years data, 1980 to 20. I limited 1980 to 20 because that itself is sufficient enough to showcase and highlight the trend that is going on. So as you can see it in this graph that in the 80s and 90s, the total number of heat wave days, heat wave days and the number of years in a number of days in a year are different things. So heat wave days in 80s and 90s used to be around 413, around 400. But in in last years, starting from 2001 to 2020, there has been 45% increase, because now we are living in an era when in an year, in 365 days of an year, we see around 600 days of heat waves across the country. If we calculate all the heat waves that have been declared in different parts of the country, so that goes to 600 days. So the 45% increase in just 20 years, it's very serious and serious data that we have. And talking about the warmest years, particularly in context of India, that have occurred in the last decade. Again, if what I'm talking about is from the perspective of the land surface temperatures. Again, land surface temperature is a bit different from the air temperature, and mostly land surface temperature is higher than the air temperature. So India has seen yeah, I mean, just in 2022, 2 years back, we had touched 55 to 60 degrees centigrades land surface temperature in northwest of India, in Rajasthan. है ना? So 2022 was, I mean, it was a very different year when it comes to heat waves. Apart from that, the notable years of heat wave that the country has seen, 1998, 2003, and 10, and 15 and 16, 2015 and 16 were, were very, very bad. And also, the year of 2022. In 2015, there were around 2,500 deaths in Andhra and Telangana because of the heat waves. If we try to look at it from the area perspective, the frequency and intensity has of the heat waves has risen across the country, but it's more evident in the northern India, in the central India, northern India, and some part of the eastern India. So because of the significant increase in the humid heat wave, also in the coastal regions. So so the trend has been upward of the occurrences of heat wave. The future projections of heat wave, as per a few data that were available that I could find out, that how heat waves are going to be in the coming years, and what would be the scenario by end of this century. Because as I told you, in last 20 years itself, India has seen 45% rise in the heat wave days. So how it could be in the next 25 years, and by the end of this century, that is by 2100. So there is a data that says that if, just in case, the high emission scenarios, if in case it continues to exist, then the temperature may rise by 1.5 degrees centigrade by next 25 years, that is by 2050. And if we talk about the capital of India, Delhi, if the RCP, or 8.5 or the high emission scenarios continue, the Delhi itself will sorry, excuse me, Delhi itself will see a 2.5% 2.5 degrees centigrade rise by end of this century. So I don't think there is a need to explain the impact that it will have on the on our planet, on the lives that we will have by the end of this century on this planet. So heat wave frequency could increase. The projection says that just in case the low warming scenario continues, then probably um, uh, in next 25 years, India will see 8 times increase in the occurrences of heat waves, जो अभी है उससे उससे भी ज्यादा 8% का. एंड अगर सिचुएशन लो एमिशन के हिसाब से कंटिन्यू करती है, देन इट वुड इंक्रीज अराउंड 30 folds more by the end of this century. You see, we also have coastal cities, and the Indo-Gangetic plains, they are projected to face intensified heat wave risk due to humidity and population density. And we are aware of the population density that is there in the Indo-Gangetic regions, and we are also aware of the kind of economy and the populations that are there in our coastal regions. So this future projection kind of warns us that working on controlling the temperature rise, working on the controlling the impact of global warming, or maybe factors that contribute to climate change is a serious threat, and it's kind of a do or die situation for our if we are careful enough about our about our next generation. uh, Causes of heat waves in India, there are a few causes that we will discuss. Number one that we see is we see and we tend to put the blame is on the climate change. So why? Because एक तो ऐसा हो जाता है ना, it's just like how we kind of try to transfer the guilt by saying that disasters are natural. So let's say like floods or earthquake or any any disaster that happens, we tend to kind of transfer the blame by saying that it was natural disaster. But if you go deeper, you will see that it's not the structures that kill, it's not the earthquake that kills, or it's not the flood that kills, but it is always the anthropogenic factors that that kind of lead to the devastations on the human settlements, on our ecology that matters to our settlements, etc. So so kind of when we say natural disasters, वो पूरा का पूरा blame कहीं और चला जाता है, as if like we were innocent and nature was there to kill us. So the same pattern, I'm not saying always, but many a times we do see the same pattern in the case of heat wave also, that we tend to put the blame on climate change. But if you look deeper, it's the climate change, a major factor that contributes to climate change and global warming is the anthropogenic factors. So anthropogenic emissions, like greenhouse gases, the way we are, I mean, the amount of greenhouse emission that our activities have been producing, this has increased the global temperature, I mean, this is one of the biggest contributor of the rise in the global temperature. So and this has been the reason behind the 30 times increase that in the occurrences of heat waves that uh, that India might see.
Sorry, I like
Yeah.
to a bit. Actually, we are having a specific time for specific speakers, I guess. If you can just complete it in few
All
minutes.
right. Thank you so much. I got it. So anthropogenic factors. I'll take maybe 3 minutes, 3 more minutes. Okay.
Sure.
So, again, see, so climate change and apart from these emissions, the global warming has also raised India's vulnerability to extreme heat by 15%. Of that we have seen in last 40 years. Um, the other factor, the one is that that is very popular these days, is the El Nino. Even kids are aware of the El Nino impact. So post El Nino also, in those years, we see the increased heat wave frequency in the summertime, and a major shift in the subtropical jet stream and reduced cloud cover. So this also kind of contributes to the heat waves. The other causes are the urban heat island impact. इसको भी अभी in recent years बहुत सारा इसके बारे में awareness बढ़ा है. So urban heat island impact and is kind of is a major factor for the increased heat wave impact in the urban areas. And the other factors could be delayed monsoons, deforestation, and the Lu. In northwest India, the hot and dry wind is called Lu. So that also contributes to the temperature spikes. Vulnerabilities from heat waves in India. If we talk about that, see, in any kind of, if you are going to take heat waves as a hazard and extreme heat waves as disasters, so in any disaster, just name it, any disaster, the vulnerabilities that that are exposed or during a disaster are basically already existing in our system in the peacetime as well. So usually, the how, so heat wave is also going to impact the elderly, the women, the marginalized group, the street vendors, daily wage earners, rural population, children, because they have to play and because of their own metabolic rate, etc. So they are highly vulnerable to it. Other geographical vulnerabilities could be based on the location. As I told you, that in the northern India, in the central India, and some part of the coastal areas are highly vulnerable. Urban areas because of the heat island impact, and the coastal region because of the humidity, etc. So they are vulnerable. Sectoral vulnerability, if we look at it, the agricultural sector is, health sector and economy are highly vulnerable, because heat wave has the impact. In 2022 alone, the wheat production, it reduced to 6 to 7% because of the agriculture. And when agricultural produces reduce, it has direct impact on the malnutrition. Apart from that, health issues, heat stroke, dehydration, and vector-borne diseases. Also, the loss that economy bears. For example, like heat stresses cause 3 to 5% GDP loss annually, with 6% of work hours lost reported in 2023. Um, so risk and impact of the heat wave are not just economic and the economy and the health sector, but environmental risk and social risk are there. So like increased evaporation leads to drought like conditions, reducing water availability and soil moisture. And if we talk about social risk, disproportionate impact on marginalized communities, increases gender and income inequalities, or urban sustainability challenges, particularly in low income housing, with poor cooling access, etc. So yeah, but with all the fact and realities that we just discussed, and we have and we see in data and research and in literature and in media, there is is that there is a hope, and with the heat wave action plans that is now being implemented in all around 23 states, and urban planning, better urban planning, having better policies and public awareness in place, we can definitely try to tackle the changes and adapt to the changing situations. And there are more panelists who will throw better light on on these issues. So with this, I hope that we work towards a resilient India and we are able to tackle the challenges posed by heat wave in much better way. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Hi. Thank you so much. Thank you for elaborating how heat wave is impacting and what actions do we need to take, say, from the heat action plans or the other things. For example, if we have to talk about the enhancing public awareness and improving infrastructure resilience and adopting sustainable practices are some of them. So I'm really thankful to you. I'm really sorry we could have listened to you more if we are having that much of time, but yes, for sure. Next time we are expecting you again from Sphere India's end and from ICARS too. So thank you. I'm moving ahead and to our next speaker. That is Mr. Akhil Srivastava. He is a scientist at IMD, Ministry of Science, Government of India. He is responsible for preparing and disseminating national weather forecasting and warning bulletins to various stakeholders. His work focuses on the research and development of numerical weather predictions, models on performance computing systems, particularly mesoscale modeling for extreme events, using models such as HWRF, HICOM, HWRF, UMTC. There are too much of technical terms, I'm sorry. So he's also involved in developing new tools and methodologies for impact-based forecasting.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's not needed for the audience. Like,
Okay.
I don't know how you picked it up.
So I really welcome you, sir. Thank you for confirming at a very short notice. Please go ahead for your specific questions. Like you have to let us know about the forecasting and early warning system for heat waves. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Srivastava. Okay, and I am a scientist with India Meteorological Department. Okay, I hope I am audible. There's I think some issue with the camera, so I tried a couple of times. It's not starting up, so I'm very sorry for that. But I hope my slides will be visible to you. Yeah, I hope my slides are visible, right?
Yes, sir.
And they are moving also.
We are able to see your first screen only, I guess. Yes, yes, sir. Perfect.
Okay, fine. So, okay, so I mean, it was a very interesting talk by Ms. Pandey actually. And I mean, she definitely rightly touched upon the forecast, the criteria which is used by IMD with respect to heat waves, whereby we have defined the different, stations based on its topography, where we consider whether it's a hilly station, coastal station, or it's a plain station. And then based on the climatological normals. When I say climatological normals, I mean it means last 30 years data. We find out what is the normal temperature values for that station to find out whether there will be a heat wave or there will not be a heat wave. Okay. So the criteria is that the temperature should be above normal. Okay, and the temperature should be above normal 4.5 degrees centigrade at least for heat waves, and more than 6.4 degrees centigrade for severe heat wave. Also, the the for severe heat wave category it should be at least 6.4 degrees centigrade, and absolute temperature should be either 45 or 47 degrees centigrade. So I'm not going to repeat it again. I am directly moving to the 2024 scenario. So this is just an idea about the number of heat wave days, what we have seen in different meteorological subdivisions for past 15 years, 2010 to 2014, as you can see over here. So one thing which is to be understood over here is that the heat wave, they are changing on year-to-year basis. Second thing, it was mentioned in the previous talk also, in 2015, there was a report of more than 2,500 deaths related to heat waves. But if you see number of heat wave days, they were comparatively lesser. So less number of heat wave days doesn't mean it will not have impact on human health. Okay, because if it is impacting in a very short spell also, but in with a higher magnitude in the regions where people are not accustomed to it, or it is aggravated by different other meteorological parameters, it becomes very dangerous for the human health. So coming forward to the again the heat wave things. So we are too much obsessed with the maximum temperatures when we are talking about the heat wave. But if we all consider the temperatures, it has got a diurnal pattern. When I say diurnal pattern, it means it attains some maximum value around afternoon, evening time of the day, and it has got some minimum value during early morning hours. Okay, that is what generally termed as nighttime temperatures. So Indian Meteorology Department, it issues the warning for both these temperatures. That means for maximum temperatures which occurs during late afternoon, evening hours, and also the nighttime temperatures in early morning. So the warning which is issued for the the higher maximum temperatures, this is heat wave, and when we are issuing warning for the minimum temperatures, that is nighttime temperatures, we call it the warm night. Now these warm nights are very important, which are often neglected when we are talking about the heat waves. And IMD has now moved from the regular weather forecast to impact based forecast. When I say impact based forecast, it means we try to tell not only what weather will do or what weather will be, but also what weather will do to different sectors, including human health, transport, etc. So when we are going towards human health, it means there are different other meteorological factors also which impact the human health. If we are talking particularly about human health, which includes maximum temperature, of course, heat waves, and also the warm nights, which include the nighttime temperatures. So what is usually happening is that if we are having suppose some higher temperature during daytime, that's the heat wave condition. So our body usually accumulates a lot of heat. Now during night time, if temperatures are on the lower side, so we get a window of relief whereby the stress is relieved. But if that stress is not getting relieved during night time also because of warm night conditions, higher minimum temperatures, that leads to more human discomfort. And we have seen in some of the studies that when heat wave and warm nights are occurring together, it leads to higher number of hospitalizations and a lot of impact on the human health. So IMD, how it does the forecasting and monitoring of heat wave, we have got a big network of surface observatories which covers the entire country, and where we measure different meteorological parameters including temperature, relative humidity, pressure, wind speed, direction, etc. Then we are taking the last 30 years temperatures as the normal maximum temperature and normal minimum temperature. After considering their departure from the normal temperature of the current day temperatures and forecasted temperatures, we issue whether it will be a heat wave or it will be a warm night over these regions. For this particular purpose, we use different kind of numerical models also to support us to provide the guidance. Now, if we talk about heat waves, as we are moved towards the impact-based forecasting of heat waves. So it has got impact on human health, agriculture, livestock, poultry, power, transport, wildfires, economic impact, social disruptions, urban heat island effect, and so on and so forth. So this list is endless. There is no sector, I think, which is not getting impacted because of higher temperatures and heat wave events. So for these particular conditions, considerations, we have now moved towards impact-based forecast, whereby we are giving the forecast that is defining the impact, not only considering the maximum temperatures, but we also consider the minimum temperatures, we consider the humidity values, we consider the winds, also persistence and coexistence of all these. So, for example, if you have got some higher humidity over some particular region, even though temperatures are on the lower side, but it impacts the perspiration mechanism of the human body. What it means is that suppose the main, the functionality of body to reduce heat on the body is sweating mechanism. You sweat and that sweat evaporates and ultimately your body cools down. Now, if humidity is higher in the atmosphere, what will ultimately happen that this evaporation of sweat will not happen very efficiently and very effectively. So ultimately you will start sweating a lot, but it will not be getting evaporated. Ultimately your body's temperature will not reduce, as per expectations. So the humidity also impacts the, how your body is reacting to the heat wave. Similarly, winds. If the winds are dry, they are hot winds, okay, and you are standing in some northwestern parts of the country where high wind speed is seen during the summer months, what will actually happen? It will increase your evaporation rate. Just imagine you are sweating and immediately it gets evaporated. That leads to a lot of time, a lot of dehydration also occurs because of this particular reason. Also, if all these parameters, high maximum temperature, minimum temperature, humidity, winds, they persist and they coexist for a number of days, that means the impact and the gravity of this particular event increases, and that leads to a lot of impact on human health. So what we are trying to do is that we are in IMD, we are trying to utilize our decision support system, and based on the decision support system, we try to include all these parameters which I just mentioned, the meteorological parameters, and we also try to club it with some socioeconomic data, socioeconomic exposure product, and then generate the color-coded impact-based warnings. So what is this color-coded impact-based warning? It means that based on the gravity of the event, based on the coexistence of these events, we try to define whether what kind of impact that heat wave spell could have. Whether it will be a green color, yellow color, orange color, and the highest priority is for the red color, where we say you have to take on-ground action whenever a red color warning has been issued for any region under consideration. So for all these particular purpose, what we do is that we use different kind of meteorological information on GIS platform, and we have developed some of the products which are used for these generating these color-coded impact-based warnings. For example, we have got percentile-based extreme information. What is percentile-based extreme information? Is like for any region, what kind of temperatures historically have been seen, whether the current temperatures are 2% extreme event, or they are 5% top extreme event, or it's a 10% extreme event. If some place is seeing a very high temperature, which is in top 2%, of course, people are not acclimatized to those kind of events, and its impact will be on the higher side. Then we have got vulnerability atlas also, whereby we have defined the districts where in past disastrous heatwave events have occurred. That is, whenever any human death has been reported due to heatwave in any of the media sources, we take that information and put it on the GIS platform to understand what are the districts which are more prone, which have got more, information, or more reports have come from that particular district about the heatwave related deaths. So all these informations are issued when we used when we are issuing the impact-based forecast. Now, one very important thing what I want to mention over here is that IMD has got a seamless heatwave forecasting system, which expands from seasons to days. And when I'm saying from season to days, it means that there are different forecasts in outlook of temperature and heat wave, which are meant for different kind of anticipatory actions from different stakeholders, including general public, disaster managers, etc. That means in the start of the season, when summer season starts in the 1st of March, we issue an outlook for next 3 months, that how the temperatures will be during next 3 months and what kind of heat wave scenario is expected over different parts of the country. So this gives an idea and a longer lead time for preparatory measures over those particular regions where higher number of heat wave events are indicated. So those kind of regions are expected and anticipatory actions are expected, such that they should conduct some pre-season exercises. There should be refresher courses, mock drills, etc. So that different stakeholder agencies, they are updated about the actions which have to be taken up in season before the season starts itself. Then we have got, this is followed by monthly forecast, where for the next 1 month what is going to happen, it is being issued in the beginning of each of the month. This is followed by extended range forecast, which is for next 1 to 4 weeks. Okay, here on week by week basis, we say what region is expected to see with probability, what kind of probability is there for different heatwave events. So all these are issued to give some sufficient lead time for different anticipatory actions. Then we come to medium range forecast, to short range forecast. That is on every day, 2 times a day, we issue the heat wave impact forecast and warning for next 7 days on day-to-day basis. That is what is going to happen in next 7 days. So this forecast is actually meant for on-ground action. That means based on impact-based warnings issued by IMD, immediate commencement of actions at district level, etc., and lower levels, are expected from SDM as per SDMA and NDMA guidelines. And also, of course, as per the heat action plan, which has been developed by different agencies for different regions. So for this particular heat wave things, as I already mentioned, so we have got these kind of different products which are used for heat wave forecasting, which includes maximum temperature, minimum temperature, relative humidity. We have got the percentile information. We have got exposure to socio-economic parameters, vulnerability atlas for heat wave, and also we have got percentile information. We have got heat index. So clubbing all this information in the forecast domain, we generate the color-coded heat wave information, which is issued to different stakeholders, including general public and media. So this is the something you can see the kind of maps which have been generated, which shows the maximum temperature, their departure. That departure is how much they are different from the normals, and also it shows what kind of winds are there, relative humidity is there, and also in the lower panel you can see we have got different kind of products which show where we are trying to overlap the or overlay the different kind of socio-economic information on our heat wave map. That is railway network, road network. We are also issuing dedicated railway forecast with respect to heat waves, so that adequate preparations could be done for different railway networks during summer period. So this is how different railway network looks like. Wherever we issued red warning, those railway lines looks like a red color. Then where there no warning, it's a green color, and so on and so forth. So this is just an idea of how the vulnerability map looks like, where different kind of heat wave deaths have been reported in past. You can see the districts which are shown with red and dark red color. They are the most disastrous district with respect to heat wave, where a lot of deaths have been reported in past. So you can see particularly two regions. One is along the east coast and one along the Rajasthan. So they are two different regions, and of course they both are characterized by different kind of heat waves. The western parts of the country, that is particularly characterized by the dry heat wave, where you have got lesser amount of humidity, but maximum temperature, absolute temperatures are very high. However, on the east coast, you'd see temperatures are on the higher side, but in addition to that, you also see that relative humidity is also on the very high side, which makes the discomfort on the higher side, and usually leads to deaths for the vulnerable population. So this is just an example how the different kind of warnings from heat waves are issued. In this, I would also like to emphasize one thing, that in addition to the heat wave warm night, IMD is also issuing now one more warning, which is called as hot and humid weather. So what is hot and humid weather is that whenever we are seeing the conditions whereby the maximum temperatures are on the higher side, but they are not meeting the criteria for heat wave. That means suppose maximum temperatures are 3 degrees above normal, but they are not matching the heat wave criteria 4.5 degrees centigrade. But in addition to that, relative humidity, it is also on the higher side. So ultimately, it is the impact of the heat wave is aggravated. So we are issuing a warning of hot and humid weather, which means the humidity and temperature both are on the higher side. Okay, this from my side. Thank you very much. I mean, if anyone has any questions, you can ask me.
Thank you so much, sir.
I hope I have completed in time.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and I apologize for not knowing that it is doctorate in front of your name. I know it takes a lot of time to be at that position. So thank you so much.
No problem.
And we all know that how IMD is playing a very crucial role in nowadays, and not just nowadays, they already have been doing it for 150 years. So, and how it's like the timely dissemination through the alerts they provide and the information we get of the IMD, and your collaboration with NDMA for some kind of best how with the proper time dissemination we're able to get the alerts. So thank you so much. And I know there are a lot of challenges we are facing right now. If we have to talk about the early warning system, if you have to talk about the precise things, but it's doing a lot. So thank you for your lecture, and thank you for sharing with us how it works and what kind of forecasting system we are having in India. So moving ahead, I'd like to invite Miss Nidhi Jamwal ma'am. Miss Nidhi is a Mumbai-based journalist who reports on environment, climate, and rural issues. I have been really a true fan of yours work. I'm following you on LinkedIn and seeing your work, how you are working on heat waves and other issues related to climate. So ma'am is having 25 years in environmental and developmental journalism. She started her journalism career as a reporter with Down to Earth magazine, where she worked for 12 years. She also worked with Gaon Connection, India's biggest rural media platform, for 5 years, and was its managing editor till December 2023. Ma'am now works independently. She has completed various media fellowships and won awards. She recently received FPA at 50 Special Award, recognizing her constant engagement on feminizing climate solutions and in May 2024, she traveled to Everest Base Camp as a part of Himalayan Climate Boot Camp to report on climate change in the Everest region. Various media fellowships received by her, including Promise of Commons 2024 Fellowship, Earth Journalism Network, Bay of Bengal Story Grants 2019, Water Aid India Media Fellowship, Wash Matters 2019, MV's Media Fellowship on Informing Change in the Indus Basin in 2008, and DST's STC Media Fellowship 2008. I welcome you, ma'am. So you have to let us know about the community preparedness and heat action plans. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Fatima, and thank you to Sphere India for inviting me to speak about heat solutions. So I think we've already heard two speakers, and the focus has really been on how we monitor heat and how it works out. But I think what I will try and present is the kind of heat solutions for specifically for urban poor. So I'm going to just try and share my screen. Okay. Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, great. So I think there are three things that I want to do. Yeah, so there are three things I want to do. As far as heat is concerned, heat affects all of us, as we've already heard from the previous two speakers, but heat doesn't affect all of us proportionately. It affects us disproportionately. There is a section of our population that bears the maximum brunt of heat. And I'm sure everybody understands that this section of the population is mostly the marginalized and the vulnerable communities and urban poor. So my focus will be on heat and urban poor and what solutions we can have for the urban poor. The second thing I want to speak about is whenever we talk about heat wave or rising heat, the focus is always on the outdoor heat. You know, we always say, okay, it's the temperatures. Whenever we have heat wave alerts also, these are all on the outdoor temperatures. But there is a huge scientific evidence now building in that there is indoor heat stress, specifically in informal settlements, specifically in slums, because the kind of houses that are there and the temperatures inside these houses in slums is actually a couple of degrees higher than the temperature outside. So that's the second thing that I want to focus on, which is the indoor heat stress. The third thing is also, if you see, heat also has a gender aspect. So I also want to touch upon the gendered aspect of heat, and that's also very important because that's where the whole question of, you know, intergenerational impacts of heat comes in, and also the whole, you know, what we talk of environmental justice also. So that's the thing. And when I'm talking of solutions, I know everybody keeps talking of those white roofs is one solution which everybody talks about. So I'm now going to talk about that solution. I'll be speaking about something called sandwich roofs that have been tried out as part of a 2 years program. So I will just tell you what that is about. So as far as heat is concerned, like I said, heat affects urban poor the most because of various factors, because of the kind of houses they live in, because the kind of work they do, mostly manual labor, outdoor work, which is why their wages also get affected. They have poor nutritional standards, which means they cannot respond to a lot of health challenges. They do not have access to cooling solutions. So these are different things because of which, and also if they fall sick, they do not have access to healthcare at the right time. So this makes them extremely vulnerable to heat. And we have enough evidence data you all can look up, like, you know, ILO is estimating that India is going to lose some 5.8% of its total labor hours in 2030 due to heat and humidity. You know, Dr. Akhil, I'm glad he touched upon heat and humidity, because we have to start talking about heat index. Just talking of heat doesn't help, just temperatures don't matter. It is a temperature and humidity that we have to look at it together. And there's a very sad thing that's also happening is something called heat poverty. If you look it up, there are some stories coming out, which is basically how poor are being pushed into heat poverty, which means that they are being forced to now take debt, take loans so that they can buy cooling solutions, because it is becoming impossible, nearly impossible for them to survive, because they work outdoors, whether it is our gig workers or even our domestic workers and all, and other delivery boys and all. They all work outdoors. Construction laborers work outdoors, and when they come back to their homes, like Dr. Akhil was saying, it's not just the day maximum temperature, the night temperature, the minimum temperatures at night are also rising, which means when you come back to your homes, which are super hot, which are a couple of degrees hotter than what it is outside, you cannot even sleep at night. So when you're living in this environment where daytime you're working in heat, you come back to homes which are super hot, and you continue doing it for weeks together, the kind of health impacts that are going to come up in the coming years or decade, I think it's going to be a huge challenge for us to handle those health issues around poor, marginalized, vulnerable communities. Why gender aspect is also important, because we know that in any case, women participation in workforce is low in India. We have evidence which is telling us that women in India are already losing out on some 19% of their paid working hours due to heat, and by 2050, this is expected to increase to 22%. Now, why this is a problem? Because we all know that women are mostly, the caregivers at home. So if you have elderly people at home, especially I'm speaking of the urban poor women. So if you have elderly people who fall sick or children fall sick because of the rising heat, the burden of taking care comes on the women, which means they cannot do their work and earn their wages. So that's also one of the main things why we have to also focus on women. We also need to focus on women because we have a recent study of 800 pregnant women done in India, which showed that almost 47% of pregnant women experienced high heat exposure at work. We know a lot of women in urban India work from their homes, whether they're making papads or they're making achars. If you go to Dharavi in Mumbai, they all function from their homes. And these homes, like I told you, next slide, I'll show you how these houses are. These houses are literally like ovens. They are like tandoors. So they're functioning also from those homes. So when pregnant women are functioning in such an environment where the temperatures are very high, we have enough scientific evidence now just telling us that it leads to high fetal heart rate. The chances of miscarriage increases, the chances of stillbirth are also increasing. So which is why, like I said, heat is also an intergenerational issue, and it's very important for us to keep it in mind, because this is also where the whole environmental justice comes out, that an unborn child of poor families is already getting predisposed to certain things. Now, coming to urban homes in slums, I'm just focusing purposely on informal settlements, urban slums, because they do not have access to cooling solutions. If you see most houses, as you can see in this picture also, most houses in urban slums now have tin sheds or asbestos sheds. Enough data loggers have been used, put inside these homes to record temperatures, and they actually tell us that the temperatures inside these homes can be 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees higher than what it is outside. So if you do heat mapping of any city, you will see that heat is not distributed equally across the entire city. You will have some pockets of very high temperatures, and usually these pockets of high temperatures are again slums, because these are congested, there are no green zones. WRI had done a study, I think in 2019, if I'm correct, 2019 or 2020, which actually showed that slums in Mumbai have 6 degrees higher temperature as compared to other areas in the city. So you can imagine a city which has urban heat island effect. Within that, you have a slum which has far more higher temperature as compared to other parts of the city. And within the slums, the houses that are built, the way they are built, tin sheds, no ventilation, no windows, and you have women sitting inside and cooking. So the temperatures inside these homes is again far higher than what it is outside. So that's the thing with the homes in urban slums. Now, I will quickly take you through a 2-year project that was done in Delhi NCR. It just completed, and the report has just recently, earlier this month, released in Delhi. It was done by an organization called Chintan and Seeds India. Seeds India, as we all know, works on disasters and uses a lot of tech for solutions around extreme weather event. So they worked with about 1,000 urban poor women in 5 informal settlements of Delhi, and they installed some data loggers in these homes. They also set up an automatic weather station in one of the slums, and then they started recording temperatures over a period of 2 years in this 5 areas. What they have done is they have recorded temperatures outside, ambient outdoor temperature. They have recorded temperatures inside these jhuggi homes. And then they made some structural interventions, which I will explain in the next slide. In these homes, they introduced something called sandwich roofs. I'll show you in my next slide what they look like. These are basically using low-cost local materials like, jute, bamboo, cardboard, tarpaulin, and insulation sheet. How do you create like a sandwich roof? And you put this upon their regular tin roof, and that has actually led to a drop in temperature ranging up to 13 degrees Celsius as compared to a house where this intervention was not done. This report is also available online. I'll give you a QR code. You can scan it also. Now, this is what Seeds did. So they created these prototypes of 3 different models of so-called sandwich roofs. All material is used locally because we understand urban slums, people cannot invest so much money in all these things. So these are the different kind of combinations they did. The idea is you have insulation in your roof to not let heat get in. So this is what they did. And if you see model number 2, that model number 2 gave them the best result, which is a house which had no intervention compared to a house which had model 2 intervention, had a 13-degree temperature difference. So that's the kind of thermal comfort you can actually provide to urban poor by using these low-cost, roofs. But there are also challenges because we also understand these slums have issues of rats and pests. So you would have, rats which eat into, jute and other stuff. Then they also tried doing SRI paints in homes. They work well, it worked very well. But after 1 year, when they assessed those roofs, they figured that none of those SRI painted roofs were in good condition or were in usable condition because the paint chipped off. And a lot of urban poor, if you go to slums, you will realize people use their roofs to store things. It's not that their roof is just like that. So they would put some bags or some whatever stuff is left cannot keep inside their homes, they put it on their roofs. So that's also doesn't help when you are painting your roofs white. So that's what it is. This is the link of that report on heat solutions. Please look it up because I believe it's very important for us to go beyond theory and start looking at solutions, because we can continue talking about definitions and what is a heat wave and severe heat wave, but we really need some action and ground because people are really, really suffering. So this is the QR code. You guys can scan it also. You can download this report, read it. I worked on this report, which is why I could share these findings. Some 4-5 things. This is just my second last slide. I want to say that when we're working on heat solution specifically for urban poor and vulnerable and marginalized communities, we have to keep it in mind that the homes, the houses of these people are structurally weak. So the solutions have to be very, very tailor-made for these kind of houses, because these are not like very sturdy houses where you can make some great architectural interventions. Second thing is that when you are introducing these kind of interventions of roofs, then you have to keep repeating it, because it's not you've done it one time and then it's going to stay for the next 5-7 years. So you have to keep repeating those interventions. Then third thing is, I think there's also a great opportunity for us to create green jobs around it. When this whole project was going on for 2 years in Delhi, they figured that it's very difficult to get people to make these sandwich roofs because nobody's trained. Nobody's skilled in doing it. So I think this is also a time for us where we can actually start skilling people in these kind of, green interventions for heat solutions. So that's something I need to know. It's great IMD gives these kind of warnings. I think it's time we have to move to hyper local warnings, as science is telling us, heat mapping is telling us that heat is not distributed equally everywhere. People living in slums are facing much higher heat as compared to other parts of the city. So we really need some kind of hyper local warnings also. First, you have to do that. Then within the heat action plans, urban slums have to be tackled very, very differently for all cities. Women have to be involved. I've already said why we need to do that. One point I really want to make is, if you see, I travel a lot in India, and wherever you go, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, you will see a typical that brick cement house which is being built everywhere. I think this Control C, Control V systems will not work as far as housing is concerned, because just recently a research study has come from Wardha in Maharashtra, in which they have recorded temperatures inside houses in villages in Wardha, and they realize a tin shed roof had a inside temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. A cement slab had 38 degrees Celsius, but a thatched roof, which uses hay and all, had a temperature of about 35 degrees Celsius. So when we're looking at heat solutions, we have to look at our traditional architecture. We cannot keep just using glass in cities, as you see, like Gurgaon, terrible example of just using cement and bricks everywhere and creating these homes. I remember speaking to a woman in Jaisalmer once, and she had got a house under the PM Awas Yojana, and we just asked her about, us ghar mein rehne ka. To wo what she said? She said, "मैं दिन भर जो है उसकी अभी भी keep is a grass, it's a local grass in Rajasthan, which has been traditionally used to make these roofs of huts in Jaisalmer in the desert. Now these keep grass has a very unique quality that it keeps the house, the indoors, cool. So she said, even if I've got a new house under the PM Awas Yojana, I have not destroyed my hut, because my hut is much cooler, and during the summers I prefer staying there as compared to this house, because it's like a tandoor, you can't stay there." So I think we also need to start looking at a lot of government programs where housing is providing. Can we look at heat solutions in those housing projects also? I think we also need to push cool roofs through under CSR, so that people can get some relief, especially the urban poor and the vulnerable communities. I think I will just end it here because we're short of time. So thank you so much. I hope I wasn't too fast, but I've shared the report. You guys can read through it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for addressing, letting us know how addressing heat solution for urban people or marginalized communities is critical, because we all know that these are the groups that are at the greater risk due to heat, due to risk to inadequate housing, or we can say the heat impacts are more on them. I'm sorry, there is some background noise here. So before we move ahead, we're having 2-3 questions that I'd like to ask some our panelists. So first one, I guess, ma'am, let's start it from you only. They wants to know that how municipalities work for cooling, I guess I'm not understanding the question. It's like, so how municipalities work for cooling solutions?
How municipalities work for cooling
solution. I'm not.
I fear municipalities aren't really working for cooling solution, except that in a lot of places these city action plans are being made. So that is there. So within those city action plans, there are programs like they are using they call it blue and green infrastructure, which is like you're using water bodies, you're creating urban forestry, you're creating a lot of planting trees to basically bring down the ambient temperature. So these are the kind of things, a lot of solutions at city levels are being tried, but specifically, if you ask me for urban poor, I really don't know. In some places like Ahmedabad and all, they've done that painting of, roofs with SRI paints and all that to reduce heat. That has really worked well. Ahmedabad has done that. So I think those kind of interventions are being made. But beyond that, I am not too sure if anything bigger is happening.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I guess that we are having 3 questions more, but before that, I'll just like to invite our last speaker, that is Miss Debadrita Sengupta. So she's probably gonna share us about letting us know about how community preparedness and heat action plans work. And before that, like to give a brief about ma'am. So Miss Debadrita is a seasoned humanitarian and development professional with over 15 years of experience in advocacy, research, cluster coordination, teaching, and leading a disaster response and recovery initiatives. She began her journey as a child champion with a fair trade organization and has since built a diverse portfolio across DRR, climate action, anticipatory action, and access programming. Ma'am has worked intensively with both government and non-government actors, driving inclusive and resilient solution at the community and policy levels. Previously, serving as the humanitarian manager and thematic focal for the RR and climate action at Raksha Bharat. She now leads the training and capacity building portfolio at the National Coordination at Reliance Foundation. Welcome, ma'am. Nice to see you again. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. May I request Gursindan to share the slides? I have already
Yes,
shared
ma'am.
the presentation.
Yes. Is it
Thank
visible,
you.
ma'am?
Yes, it's visible. Can we move on to the next slide? We have been hearing from our previous speakers, very learned, very esteemed speakers, and we could actually see how India is experiencing longer, stronger, and more frequent heat waves and warm nights, as Dr. Srivastava mentioned. These are especially dangerous for the more vulnerable groups like the elderly, people who work outside, women, as Nidhi madam mentioned, children. So unlike floods, heat waves do not actually cause very visible, very tangible destruction at times, but it can be as deadly as very severe floods and cyclones. Over 25,000 people has have died from heat waves between 1992 and 2016. I think between 1992 and 2015, it was around 24,000 something, 24,223 or something. And then 2016 was one of the hottest years recorded, and the number shot up to 25,700 something. So heat action plans are a very, very important step to help communities prepare through early warnings, advisories, awareness, um, long-term strategies like adaptation strategies like um, cooling shelters, roof cooling technologies, hospital, especially health system readiness. Um, there's a very good example from Akrimoti village that I have given here. This gentleman protected his animals after receiving an impact-based heat advisory from Reliance Foundation, showing how timely information can save lives. Once he received the advisory, he knew that it was going to be a very severe heat wave day, and he kept his livestock inside, provided them with cooling facilities and also extra water to ensure that they would not be suffering from heat stress or even heat stroke. We usually tend to focus so much on human beings, we tend to forget about livestock at some points of time. But those are also very important because it's not only human, but they also provide livelihood. Gursilan, can we move on to the next slide, please? So why does it matter so much? See, when we are talking about heat waves, we have already seen my previous speakers talk about high pressure systems and climate patterns, which are being worsened by climate change actions like events like El Nino, droughts. So we have already also seen my speakers talk about their effects on health, crops, infrastructure, economy, ecosystems. Nidhi madam also mentioned the urban heat island effect. Now, how do we manage such a wide range of risks, and how do we mitigate the impact of those risks on people, whether it is in a rural area or in an urban area, with their own unique complexities? So managing those requires a proper planning with complete risk identification, analysis of what is the trend of heat waves in that particular area, what has been the previous set of temperature rises, what are the situations that can be, what are the solutions that can be provided. For example, Nidhi madam was talking about the sandwich roofs, like roof cooling technologies are a very big part of heat wave solutions, creating green spaces and so on. So to have all of it, we need to understand the drivers. We also need to understand the impacts. And with a 45% increase in the number of heat wave days, the heat wave action plans are now a critical necessity. Something very interesting is Odisha was actually the first one to develop the heat wave action plan in 99, and now has the first climate adaptive heat action plan. If you look at the Bhubaneswar city heat action plan, it's a climate adaptive heat action plan. Incidentally, the second one was Ahmedabad. Gujarat is the place where my example came from in the first slide. Moving on to this next slide. Now, heat action plan is actually considered as a life-saving strategy that prepares communities for extreme heat. It includes early alerts, it includes advisories, it includes interagency coordination and collaboration, it includes as much as possible maximum public outreach in complementarity with each other. Another example from Rodasar village I'll give here. The community filled its water tank after a heat advisory, helping residents stay safe indoors, saving lives during a very severe heat wave alert. This shows how simple early actions, anticipatory actions, can prevent harm, can save lives. India's vulnerability to extreme heat has increased by 15%, as one of my previous speakers also mentioned. And that is something that makes its actions a necessity for survival, human and livestock both. Next slide, please. So we have been talking about heat action plans, right? How is a heat action plan developed? How do we develop a heat action plan? Creating a heat action plan starts with understanding the local conditions. What is the demographic profile? What are the more vulnerable groups, more stressed groups within that demographic profile? What are the kind of infrastructure available there? Is it an urban area? Is it a rural area? Is it a peri-urban area? What kind of past heat data can we get from it? Analyzing the climate trends, mapping the urban heat hotspot, especially given the urban heat island effect, is something very critical. Identifying vulnerable groups, as I mentioned, identifying stakeholders like the health departments, what are the health facilities within that area, what are the triage conditions, what are the local bodies, is it a panchayat, is it a municipality, is it a ward? So how do we, what are the kind of settlements that we are looking at? For example, is it a rural village, which is pretty scattered and has a lot of space? Or is it a very congested urban informal settlement like a slum area? Does it have space to create green spaces? Does it have enough possibility of creating, cooling shelters, public cooling shelters uh, interspersed within the community space? Does it have space to create water stations? So those are some of the things that are very, very important to know, because that is how the plan is molded according to the context, according to the unique stress points of that particular community. And the plan also needs to have a regular monitoring and updating schedule using real-time data and community feedback. The purpose is fourfold for the plan. Number one is there should be proper early warning and intelligence coordination mechanism established. Early warning should reach the last mile. There should be impact-based advisories based on those early warnings, which should also reach the last mile. There should be capacity building and training programs, not only for the health system professionals, but also for the frontline workers and community volunteers, so that there is help at hand. There should be public awareness and community outreach programs, which enables more vulnerable groups or people who have less awareness about how to save themselves, how to protect themselves, get better, preventive access and support. And also, it is very important to understand that this is not a single person's business, it's a single organization's business. This is a business of everyone. Saving lives is always a business of everyone. And so collaborations with NGOs, civil society, media, communication channels, these are also very important and should be part of the plan in a way as to see how we disseminate information. Next slide, please. So now what is important is to understand who makes it work. Heat action plans are generally led by either, it can be a city level action plan, for example, Bhubaneswar, Surat, Ahmedabad. Then it can be led by the urban local bodies and the state disaster management authorities. It can also be a state level action plan. For example, Odisha. It can also be led by, it can also be a district level action plan. So supported by other organizations, like the support can come from the disaster management structure, the institutional mechanism like NDMA and NIDM and all that. It can come from Indian Meteorological Department and its various applications and supportive warnings and forecasting systems. It can come from the health departments, health and in fact, health department is one of the more engaged, more critical components of the stakeholder map, I'd say. NGOs, community leaders, community volunteers, CBOs, and as I was mentioning, hospitals, media. So there's a huge range of stakeholders that are involved over here. In order to make it more inclusive, more proactive, and more comprehensive, it is also important to engage with the typical vulnerable groups that we are looking at. For example, older people, for example, women who go long distances to get water, and children, people who are working outdoors all the time, like construction workers. So this is also very critical. Again, another example I'd provide here, how volunteers help. In one village, after a sarpanch received a heat alert, volunteers went door to door sharing safety tips, showing how local leadership and community action are so vital. Next slide, please. So how can we help? Everyone can contribute to heat wave safety. Again, as I mentioned before, it's not a single person's job, it's everyone's business. Communities and authorities can plan ahead, set up cooling centers, and train health workers. Early warnings help people take precautions, mock drills test readiness, and regular reviews improve the plan. These very simple steps can save lives and build heat resilient communities. Next slide, please. At Reliance Foundation, we collaborate with organizations like Indian Meteorological Department and various state disaster management authorities and other departments to provide district-specific heat wave warnings and safety advisories for the public and livelihood groups, including farmers and laborers. The team here uses IMD-generated heat wave bulletins and safety measures, translating them into local languages for effective dissemination. We utilize digital platforms such as mobile voice SMS and WhatsApp, and we also organize audio conferences to connect district authorities with grassroots officials. In fact, in April, May this year, Reliance Foundation shared heatwave safety advisories in Gujarat, Bihar, Odisha, and West Bengal already, developing content in 10 languages till now. Advisories cover do's and don'ts, safety tips, animal care, treating heat strokes, and sunstrokes and crop protection measures during heat waves. During the second week of April 2025, following IMD's heatwave warnings for Kutch district, the Reliance Foundation team collaborated with the district administration to widely disseminate heatwave safety advisories. Public messages on do's and don'ts were shared, along with crop protection tips for mango, pomegranate, and bajra in partnership with Krishi Vigyan Kendra Mundra and animal safety advisories with support from Veru Anand. Localized action-based guidance was also shared with Panchayat Sarpanches through District Disaster Management Authority, Kutch. The Reliance Foundation team facilitated a multi-location audio conference on heatwave safety for grassroots officers as well. Additionally, the District Deputy Development Officer and the District Health Officer coordinated with Taluka level officials to ensure preparedness, such as providing shade and water at NG and REG and construction sites and protecting vulnerable groups. A total of 64 grassroots officials actively contributed to strengthening community level heatwave response through this intervention. Next slide, please. Can we move to the next slide? So here you can see a glimpse of heatwave safety advisories in regional language. These are freely available and the database is open to all. Any organization, any individual can provide names who require this kind of support, and it is freely recorded in the database. Whosoever name is recorded in the database and their contact details are there, they get heatwave safety advisories based on wherever they are located. We have now initiated this service in several states in India, and this is open to all, as I mentioned. Next slide, please. So this is an example of a complete set of advisory. Next slide. So again, reiterating, coming together is very important. Complementing each other's strengths is very important. Ensuring there is participation from the people we are targeting is very important. And planning not only short term, but also medium term and long term strategies is also very important. So comprehensive, inclusive, and proactive heat action plans for improved community preparedness saves lives. Thank you. I'll pause here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the talk you shared and how community needs to be prepared and how heat action plans for everyone and what are the essential tools for reducing the heat and the impact on livelihoods. Specifically, we have to talk about the vulnerable and densely populated people. So thank you so much. I guess I can, if Simran allow me, I can take the questions now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So yes, there are questions. I don't know. He hasn't let me know whom for I have to this question. But the question goes like, what has been the impact of GRIHA, Green Building Concept towards cooling of homes building? So any of the panelists, if they can answer this specific question, I guess Nidhi ma'am, if you can answer this, then I can go to Dr. Akhil. So, ma'am,
Yes. Sorry.
yes, the question was, what has been the impact of a green concept towards cooling of homes?
So I think, I also I did a story there earlier. There used to be these, star rating of buildings and all of that. But the whole point is that a lot of green rated buildings are buildings that are completely made out of glass. So I have some problems with the way the rating business also works out, because you might be using double glass and those fancy glasses, which are very super efficient as compared to what they were, say, 20 years back and all. But having a complete glass building and having like a regular building with like windows and all, definitely there is the kind of energy you will use to cool a kind of a structure is going to vary higher. So I have an issue with all these, I have a personal issue maybe with all these rating systems and how something gets 5 stars or 2 stars or 3 stars, because I really have a problem if a building in Gurgaon, which might be the best of building, recycling all its water, but completely made of glass and getting a star rating of a 5-star green building. So that's my personal problem with the whole rating system, but maybe somebody else can speak on this.
Thank you, ma'am. And I hope we have got the answer. The next question I would like to ask Dr. Akhil, there is one question for you that for the retrospective analysis, let us assume that 10 years of assessment where we can declared heat wave days data, is it available in public or a particular city? If so, where shall one can access? Dr. Akhil, are you with us? I guess not. So ma'am, I guess I'll ask you this question again. So which type of temperature measuring method is useful for heat action plan in urban and rural setting? Dry building thermometer or wet? Dry bulb thermometer or wet bulb thermometer?
Wet bulb, definitely. I think we're all realizing. I'm not sure. I don't think IMD has still started issuing alerts based on heat index, because heat index puts heat along with humidity. So I am not sure. I don't, as the best of my knowledge, I don't think IMD's heat wave alerts right now are based on wet bulb temperature. But it's increasingly becoming very, very clear, as one of the maps that Dr. Akhil was showing us, that in the eastern India, where you have high mortality because of heat, that's where you don't have just dry heat, is heat and humidity, which plays a major role together. Because if you have humidity, which means your body cannot sweat, which means your body cannot, the self-cooling system of human body stops functioning. So it is high time we have to switch over to heat index, which takes care of heat and humidity. Wet bulb temperature is what we should now be looking at. Just looking at 42 degrees, 45 degrees Celsius dry temperature really doesn't help. It could be, there are places, if it is temperature is 32 degrees Celsius or 33 degrees Celsius, but the humidity is 80%, it can be lethal for some vulnerable communities. So wet bulb is what we should be looking at.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Even though that was question not meant for you, even though you are having a lot of questions, we are getting more of fan following over here. So we are having a lot of questions for you. Somebody wants to know that do you think that AC installed in our houses exemplifies or accelerated the HIE, or as ordinary citizen, what can we do to mitigate the challenge? Basically, I want to ask what can be done if large population come together to mitigate the problem?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people ask me this, when I go for conferences also, they tell me, but meeting to AC mein ho rahi hai, to hum kya kare? The fact is, my belief is that, like, you have night shelters, right? In Delhi, during winters, you have night shelters because people die because of cold wave. In future, you will need to set up cooling shelters for people, because the heat will start becoming really, really unbearable and people will start falling on the roads. So now cooling is going to be our reality in the future. So I don't even want to tell people that it is very, very hot and you are dying and don't switch on the AC because you want. So that's one thing. The second thing is the basic of anything to do with environment and climate is, can we cut down our consumption wherever possible? I think that's the bottom line. That fine, when when it is too hot, I need possibly the cooling solution. But if I am not in a particular room, or if I'm not, can I switch off things there? Can I, if my phone gets charged, can I just immediately switch it off rather just leaving it on like that? So I think we have to, if just because Zomato allows me to order food from 20 kilometers away, doesn't give me the right that I am going to do that. Can we start? So the idea is that how much consumption at our level can be reduced. So I think that's a decision all of us need to take. Like when I travel, even by air, I carry my own tiffin boxes with me, steel tiffin boxes with me. There is a reason for that. Because I heard, okay, you eat healthy, you stay healthy. And the second thing is you don't want to contribute to the waste generation that's there. So these are some small things all of us can do, because we are such a huge country with such huge population. If all of us start taking these smaller steps in our everyday lives, I think the combination effect is going to be very high. So I don't want to tell people ki garmi mein rahiye, bilkul mariye, par AC mat on kare. This is a reality. Future will really require all this. So we really have to decide, what can I negotiate, what I cannot negotiate. Can I set my temperature at 24 degrees Celsius and not keep it at 20 degrees Celsius throughout the night? At night, like, when I am sleeping in Mumbai, I switch on my AC for some time. When my room is cool, I switch it off and I use the fan and sleep. So these are combinations we all have to decide for ourselves. So I don't know if that answers, but that's how I see it.
No, it was really actually up to information. And in fact, there are some responsibilities that we need to start it from our end. Then we can, I guess, let people know about how we can do it. So I'm really thankful for you. Thank you for the informative sessions you had done for us, everyone. I am very always eager, whatever you write down or whatever you share, I'm always, I guess, that being an environmental from that background, you need to have such kind of person. So thank you so much. Thank you for all the panelists who have been here with us. I like to thank Simran for giving me this opportunity to be here and to moderate this session. Over to you, Simran, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So thank you for joining us today, this insightful session. We will have more webinar on this topic. As we mentioned, that is the webinar series, or many other related topic also. If you have any suggestion, any feedback, if you have any question also, so just feel free to write to us, and stay tuned on our social media channel to from regular updates from Spelling Academy. And thank you so much, our panelist and moderator also. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Stay inside.